What's going on, guys? Hey, I want to talk about the 12 presumptions of law. Now, why these have been created, these 12 presumptions, is because the probability of you knowing and objecting is very, very slim. I believe that's why there's 12 presumptions, because that's many. That's a lot. Okay, especially if you don't know the law or you've never been trained or anything like that. You know, a system or the New Deal was slipped in there very quietly through time. So when you go into court, you've had the opportunity in most cases before the hearing to put in documents or file your objections or object to the 12 presumptions of law. Now let me go over these quickly, okay? So number one, presumption of public record. The fact that they record stuff about you and you haven't objected. So when they put it in, it's really, that's late, because you should have already objected that they couldn't establish a public record. Does this make sense? You know, number two, the presumption of public service. Now they're all public servants. You know, they've been there for years and years as you were growing up, and you never objected because you've never been affected by them and you've really never been charged. So to have any understanding of what's going on is like slim to none. See, the probability of you ever getting this or everybody getting this is impossible, because no one will do any study or research. You know, actually, number three is the presumption of public oath. Have you ever went down and looked and seen if they recorded their oath in their bond? Nobody that's on this probably has ever done that. Nobody that's watching this. Number four, the presumption of immunity. So do they have immunity? I think not. They don't have immunity. But the only thing that'll happen is you'll do it backwards. You'll get in trouble or have an issue, and then you'll want to go look. You know, even if you're at the beginning or in the middle or at the end, you can do this. Or you can make sure that this doesn't happen again by doing it after you have your first experience and problems, and then you understand, so it doesn't happen again. You can still do and object to the 12 presumptions of law. Okay? So think about that. The presumption of summons. Okay, they're summonsing the dead. Now, when they're summoning everybody, if you unrebut it, then it's presumed that you're in that position that you agree. Is this starting to make sense? Because it does to me. Now, the next presumption, which is presumption of custody. Now imagine that. Who's going to go down there and put in the presumptions saying they object when they've never been in trouble and they've never been charged? Who's going to do that? I would venture to say no one would ever do that. But if you're in trouble and you go put that in, presumption of custody, that means you don't consent and you don't agree. You see, it's kind of a backwards type technology. Then there is the presumption of the court that the court is your guardian. Okay, that's number 7 out of the 12. Okay, number 8, the presumption of the court of trustees. You know, they've been appointed executor by the church, probably been appointed trustee, because this is all about trusts and trust law. Okay, now I'm not saying I know a whole bunch about that, but it's part of the puzzle. So as you're looking at this, basically, you know, this public servant has signed up to be your trustee. Yes, everyone. Okay, you get pulled over on the side of the road and they say get out of the car, you better get out of the car. If they say roll the window down, you better roll the window down. Yes, public services can be in charge of you if you don't do the right thing and object. So public servants have signed up for this. You just didn't rebut the presumption of trustee. You see, it's kind of complex, but it's kind of simple too. Okay? The presumption of government acting in two roles as executor and beneficiary. Well, then what's that make you? That makes you the trustee. You have to perform. Well, you didn't object, and you didn't put in the 12 presumptions. You understand what I'm saying? So you have authorized them to do this to you, and nothing you do or nothing you say or motions that you put in probably is not going to help you. It's all basically a Ponzi scheme, and this is the foundational stuff that will free you. The presumption of agent and agency. Look up agent and agency and read what the definition says. You know, it's mind-blowing how you agree to the contract because you didn't object. It's asked backwards. I mean, you got to admit it. The presumption of incompetence. Well, think about that. The things that I'm explaining about these 12 presumptions, even though you might be educated, you might be college educated, it makes you incompetent if you don't know these 12 presumptions and you don't object before, during, or after these actions happen to you. Okay? You might get in a tailspin when you get charged for something, and you may figure all this out. But understand that you're probably going to lose if you don't understand these things. And if it's over, don't stop. Do the 12 presumptions. Make sure you protect yourself. Understand the language and how to speak, so you don't get into a contract and these policy enforcers trick you on the side of the road because you don't know these things and you don't know how to object. So hopefully you get some insight here as I'm speaking to you. The presumption of guilt. I know everybody says they're not guilty, but that's dishonor because you didn't do it on paper. You didn't do the 12 presumptions. You didn't put it into the clerk's file at the clerk's office and get a certified stamped copy back and then notify all the parties involved that you did the 12 presumptions, you put it into the case, you got a stamped copy from the clerk, and when you get to court on your preliminary or your next hearing, depending on when you discover this, you give this to the judge and then it becomes evidence because you do it into the open court. I mean, is this making sense? It does to me. So those things are so important. That's the 12 presumptions. Now, you can go back and take a look at this and figure out the key things that I've said and understand that you can put this in and it's basically already prepared. And just go ahead and contact me. My phone number and everything will be below this video. Please don't waste my time. And please don't call me before 11 a.m. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have to go back and look at this over and over, please do. Understand that this is probably the single most important thing you could do into a court case to show you don't consent to any of these things. If you have a court case in the past and it's on the record still, when you look it up on the county's website, you can do the 12 presumptions into that case and notify everybody, and I would venture to say that those charges have a great chance of getting dismissed. So I hope this makes sense. Have a nice day. We'll talk to you soon.